Welcome to A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday, November the 30th. Week 13 is officially in the books. And for the Titans, it was a massive step back on a day where you were really hoping that they would continue their progress if you're a fan of the Tennessee Titans. We're going to talk about the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars came to town and beat them down soundly at Nissan Stadium. We'll talk about Cam Ward. You'll hear from Cam Ward and Mike McCoy, who made questionable decisions on both sides of this situation. I'm going to ask you simply, if you're still watching these games, why are you still watching at this point in time? What is keeping you invested in this team? Because for the life of me, I can't figure out why anybody would be a fan of the Tennessee Titans at this point in time. Other than you're either a sadist or just blindly loyal and tougher than I would be in your situation. But we work through all of those things tonight as we get you ready ahead of Sunday Night Football. Share the broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Wherever you are spending your precious and valuable time with us, we do appreciate when you share this show, as is the custom. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can share now to public on Facebook Live, and you can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or on Twitch if that is where you are so inclined to participate. We do appreciate your participation wherever you are spending your precious and valuable time with us. And as you guys do that, more of y'all will trickle on in here, and we'll go ahead and get this thing rolling. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the T-Dot Studios, where the Tennessee Department of Transportation reminds you that nobody trashes Tennessee and that you can be a part of the solution and littering at nobodytrashestn.com. By Two Rivers Ford, where they have a great year-end sales event going on right now. For more details from the South's most trusted Ford dealer, you can visit them online at tworiversford.com. By TrueMath Fitness, the best workout in Nashville definitively is TrueMath Fitness, where they will offer you your first workout free. You can sign up or find out more about their membership options at TrueMathFitness.com. And Simon Says, the premier men's Nashville clothing spot in Middle Tennessee. Simon Says Nashville.com. Their savings event, also 40% off on a great many of their fall and winter options, still going on right now, conveniently located in Wedgwood, Houston. Okay, so 25-3. Is the way that they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars today. And listen, Robert pointed out a comment in here that was left before the stream even started. Life with the Jones says it's called actively tanking. You know, losing, he means losing with one O, losing on purpose. No. If you think that you are tanking, you are sadly mistaken. If you think that tanking actively happens in the NFL the way that it does in the NBA, you are unfamiliar with the structure of professional football. If you think that Mike McCoy or Cam Ward or Jeffrey Simmons or who else is out there playing football right now, you're running through the gamut of them. You're running out of players at this point in time. Tavondre Sweat, Xavier Restrepo, Cedric Gray, anybody that you would name. If you think that they are capable or would participate in tanking, then I would say that you don't know anything about the National Football League. Now, I'm not saying that to be critical of you. I'm just pointing out that, no, they're just awful. They are just genuinely awful. And yes, as a fan, it makes sense for you to be like, okay, well, I'd rather them lose if they're 1-10, now 1-11. I'd rather see them crater the rest of the way through so I can get the best possible draft pick, potentially leverage that into more draft picks, because theoretically you have your quarterback in place and just keep it on moving down the line. But that's not what happens in the NFL. You're not tanking. You just suck. And that's the harsh reality of this. They didn't throw a game against the Jags today, guys. They got their asses soundly beat. And that's kind of where I'd like to start today with your Two Rivers Ford take. How would you evaluate Cam Ward's performance in the comment section? You can give a grade. You can give a number, 1 out of 100. You can just say, what your evaluation is. I'd rather have you give me like your thoughts, your initial thoughts on Cam Ward as opposed to a grade or a number or anything like that. But what is your evaluation of the way that Cam Ward played today against the Jags? Because I think there's a couple of different things to point out about why this loss is so bad. you would say, well, what's any different between this loss and the 10 others that they've sustained so far this year? Well, I think I've got a pretty compelling case as to why it was critically important for you to win this game today. And not only did you lose, but you got your ass whipped at home in front of a crowd, if you want to call it a crowd, that was somewhere between apathetic and lethargic and just bored by the end of it because you couldn't muster. You spent all week working over Thanksgiving week to score but 3 points on a field goal that, Cam Ward would probably argue they should have gone for it on that 4th and 3 situation. Your Two Rivers Ford take, of course, is presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service are what they offer you. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com and find out more about their holiday year-end sales event. Okay, so what is your evaluation of what Cam Ward did against the Jacksonville Jaguars? You guys can give your evaluation in the comment section. I'll get to Cam here in just a second. You'll hear from him. Chip Clark says, why did you believe the Jags game was winnable? Oh, because Trevor Lawrence is not good. Like, that's not a good football team. I mean, they're 8-4. They beat a bad opponent today soundly. And to their credit, they're coming off of, I think this was, if I'm not mistaken, the 3rd straight road win. So they're fine. They're probably an average to slightly above average football team. And the Colts lost again today. The Texans are pushing, and the Jags have a window to win the division. But I wouldn't say that the Jags are a good football team. I watch Trevor Lawrence, and I see a wildly inconsistent player. I watch their inability to run the football today against a bad Titans defense, and I'm confused by it because they run the football on everybody else. I watched their pass rush, and I know that they were out without Eric Armstead and Trayvon Walker today. But even with those two players, they're not a very good defense. They were benefiting hugely at the start of the year from capitalizing on some turnovers. Those turnovers have since faded. It's not like they're creating 0 turnovers whatsoever, but they're not getting them in bunches the way that they were. So I assume by reading this, that Chip is a Jaguars fan. He says they are due, D-O, not D-U-E, some respect. I mean, I don't respect them because they beat the Titans today. Of course not. I think they're fine. I respect the job that Liam Cohen is doing. I think that Jacksonville's fine. I don't think anything more of them of that. There is one elite football team in the NFL this year, and they lost today, ironically enough. The Los Angeles Rams lost to the Carolina Panthers. So anybody can get got on any given week, but for the most part, Lawrence and the Jags are surviving, and they just kind of drug the rest of the game out after Lawrence started. I believe he was 6 of 7 with those 2 touchdowns to start the game, and the rest of it was just, okay, Titans, go out there and try to beat us. And of course, they can't because they're the Tennessee Titans, and they don't beat anybody except for Arizona, where Arizona literally shits their pants. Not literally, but you get my meaning. So with all these different things that you have at this point in time, you can look at what the Titans' outcome today was, and you can say, well, Mike McCoy wasn't aggressive enough. They should have scored a touchdown on their opening drive instead of settling for a field goal. Okay, I hear you on that. Does it make a difference down the stretch? I'm not sure. Cam Ward did not play good football today. In fact, I would argue that this is one of his worst or lesser performances. It was very disheartening. The Titans made Lawrence look like a top-tier quarterback. Yes, they did, because they are the worst team in football. This is known. They are the worst team in football. This is not up for debate. The Jets have won 3 of their last 5. The Browns have Myles Garrett and a good defense, a great defense with Myles Garrett. The Saints got a better show out of Tyler Shuck today. They almost came back. Tyler Shuck did have a pick 6 in that game, was my understanding, as we were wrapping things up here at Nissan Stadium today. But Tyler Shuck, in a smaller sample size, albeit, has statistically performed better than Cam Ward has. And Cam Ward, this is the thing. This is why this is such a problem for me. They spent, so since they've been back from the bye, it's Chargers, 1-score loss, Texans, 1-score loss, Seahawks, 1-score loss. And in all 3 of those games, Cam's played fine to, I would argue, the Seahawks game was the best game of his young career. And they did lose. And so moral victories don't mean anything. This is not a moral victory business. But if you're talking about quarterback evaluation, you're looking around and saying, well, yeah, Cam showed me enough in those 3 games to say, all right, they're on the right track. And then they have today, which again, Jags are a beatable opponent. They've only lost 4 times on the year, but they're a beatable opponent by a team that at least was playing up to the level of Texans, Seahawks, Chargers. I know the Chargers have fallen off tremendously with all the offensive line injuries, but you get my meaning, right? So you would say, okay, if you find ways to stop the Jags rushing offense, Jags rushing offense is objectively great. That's the best thing that they do as a football team so far this year. Titans did that. In fact, what was the final rushing total? I can't imagine it was more than 60 yards. I believe when I looked up at half, they had like 39. Hell, we might have been into the second half and they still had 39 rush yards on offense. Let us see. For the Jacksonville Jaguars on the day, their rushing offense ended up with, 27 carries for 70 yards, 2.6 yards per attempt. So they did the thing that nobody does. They held the Jags rushing offense under 100 yards, and they still got their asses kicked. Now, the Chimere DK fumble early put Jacksonville in a position to capitalize on their first touchdown. Obviously, that was a killer. But 25-3 is indicative of a larger problem there. And today, Cam Ward was a part of the problem. That's what's so irritating. Before we hear from Cam Ward, I'll remind you that nobody but the Tennessee Titans trashes the state of Tennessee. TDOT reminds you, though, that you can be a part of the solution to end littering at nobodytrashestn.com. Find out more about the great volunteer opportunities that they have, or how you can financially get involved, or how you can start your own volunteer opportunities for you and your friends, your family to participate and be a part of the solution to end littering in this great state. nobodytrashestn.com. You wanted Cam Ward to stack performances, and you wanted to see him paid off with a win today against an opponent. I mean, the Jags, probably the most beatable, quote unquote, opponent that this team has played since Arizona week 5, Vegas week 6. They beat Arizona. Arizona lost. Titans took advantage of it, whatever. Raiders, awful. And you were thinking in your head, okay, fourth quarter Arizona, how did they follow it up? Well, they shit themselves against the Raiders, and that was really, really bad, like an epic collapse. And it ended up being the game that got Brian Callahan fired. Brian Callahan got fired for many reasons, but losing to that Raiders team, unacceptable. So you would say, all right, well, show me something that you didn't show me after Arizona. Show me that you can stack performances en route to a win. And I don't really I almost said a bad word, but I don't give a shit about your draft pick. You know what I'm saying? I see you're 4 consecutive double-digit loss seasons. You haven't done shit with the draft picks in the first place. So am I to believe that this time around would be different? Maybe. But I'm not banking on just because you get a better draft pick that you're magically going to fix all the things that's wrong with this thing right now. I just don't think that's feasible. Maybe if they're above average at their jobs, but what about the Tennessee Titans in the last 4 years? Other than they're above average at firing people, that seems to be where they excel. And I'm not going to say that it'll never get fixed or anything like that. That's obviously not sound or reasonable logic. And the best way to turn it around is to hit your draft picks. But I'm not impressed by anything that they've done so far this season, because Mike Borgonzi is running the show. Mike Borgonzi did this draft and this free agency. It's arguably going to be the worst Titans team of all time. If they go they're 0 for 5 right now in the AFC South. If they lose to the Jags in week 18, they'll be the first team in the Titans era to not win a divisional game since the Titans became the Tennessee Titans. So 1999 to present. It's a long time. That they're worse than the team that got the number 1 overall draft pick this year. This past draft is not a glowing endorsement of Mike Borgonzi. Like, I get that you're kind of excited about Chimere DK, and you hope to God, if you're a Titans fan, that Cam Ward is the one, but still, that's not enough for me to say, okay, job well done, boys. You put together a 1-11 roster. Somehow you made this thing worse. And there are mitigating circumstances. I wouldn't blame them exclusively, of course. And Mike Borgonzi is probably your biggest reason for hope, even beyond Cam Ward, because Cam Ward has a shelf life, right? Mike Borgonzi theoretically should be able to do this job at a reasonable level for longer than Cam Ward should be able to do his job. Will he? I have no idea. But I'm not heaping praise on anybody right now, because the team has some young players who might be able to do something in the future. Right now, they're not doing shit, and I get it. It's tough, but that's life in the NFL. There is no slow roll into this thing. It's baptism by fire, and right now they're getting cooked. So for all of that, I'd look around and say, yeah, I mean, the continual losses, the draft pick doesn't mean anything to me yet. What I want to see is you making progress and helping Cam Ward learn how to win at the NFL level. And what I saw today was the worst case scenario. What I saw today is them shit the bed. One step forward in the last couple of weeks to take two massive steps back. They were bad. He was bad today. He looked uncomfortable. He looked flustered. He looked unsure of himself, which is not the player that we've seen in the last 3 weeks. Is it a one-off? Maybe. But it just kind of reinforces the behavior of, all right, Arizona, good fourth quarter, show me something over 4 quarters in the next game. And they came out and lost to a terrible Raiders team. The Jags are better than the Raiders are, of course, but 25-3 is pathetic. It's the fourth time that they have been held this season without an offensive touchdown. And that Jags defense, it's fine, but it's not great by any stretch of the imagination. That was an embarrassing loss today. They have to. The bar is so low for them. They found a way to underachieve. It's crazy. It's crazy how they find ways to do that. Cam Ward is who we will hear from next. I started his press conference off with 2 questions about how uncomfortable he looked today and about why the offense looked the way that it did.
Things back on track offensively.
The same stuff that's been happening the whole season, just self-inflicted wounds. Myself on the first 3 and out, I need to progress, throw right over the ball. Then the second one, probably just step up and run for it. So everything is just self-inflicted. It's been like that the whole year, and it was like that today.
I know there's a million things happening around you, but were you less comfortable today than you have been in previous weeks? You looked like you were moving around a little more in the pocket out of necessity.
Nah, just how I felt the pocket at the time. I just think that's just something that I got to continue to harp on myself, get better at each and every day, and then just distribute the ball to my playmakers.
How frustrating, Cam, I guess, as a team, you guys have maybe made some strides in recent weeks, been competitive today, which seemed like a step back. How come you think it was?
I mean, I'm big on results, so win-loss is the only thing I care about. Strides, we haven't made any strides. We've got the same outcome for the last couple of weeks, so it's more about just winning a football game now. It don't matter how it gets done, whether one side of the ball is playing good and the other side isn't, or special teams wins the game for us, but it comes down to just winning games.
Do you think that team's today was as interested as it's been in other weeks? You guys have more personal fouls than points. Seemed like a lot of guys weren't that into it.
You saying us? Yeah. No, we into it every week. It's just the way, football goes. I mean, at the end of the day, the personal fouls, we had, the penalties, the bad plays that we had on offense, it all, supported the reason why we lost the game. And that's just something that unacceptable from just us as a organization, and that's just something that we got to improve on.
You guys have talked about some unacceptable stuff, and you just said like you don't necessarily see the improvement you want in wins or losses. So like, when does the unacceptable stuff get to be too much?
It's already too much, honestly. Throughout the whole year, from week 1 all the way to now, it's always been something in every game. Penalty, a self-inflicted wound by myself or someone else. And then it came to the result of us not winning the game. That's what happened today.
Did you sense more frustration on this one from the team than you had before?
I'm frustrated every time I lose a game. I mean, at the end of the day, I try to do, what I can, to help put the offense and the team, in the best situation to be successful. I didn't do that enough. And just as a whole, we just got to continue to come together as the last parts of the season, try to, pull some wins out.
Can you talk about things that keep happening? Why do you feel like that does keep happening? Because of the self-inflicted stuff.
That's a good question. I don't know why it keep happening. But the only thing that we can do is continue to harp on it until it doesn't happen. We got to continue to emphasize it, and we just got to, continue to pour into one each other. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to be us in that locker room. It's the only people who can physically go out there and make plays to win the game. And, we just got to, try to do that for the last couple of weeks.
It seems like you guys settled for a lot of short passes, short of the sticks and things like that? Did they take the deeper chunk plays away, or just didn't have time to get it off? What was behind that?
A lot goes into it. Progression wise, whether if the short throws the first read or not. There sometimes could be me having to move to the pocket and getting off a read. Then it could be just sometimes where it's scramble drill and that's where I throw the ball. So really a lot goes into it. I just think we just got to continue to try to be more explosive. We got to find a way to get explosive plays and, just try to go from there.
On the first drive, Cam, did you try to make a case for going for it there on the 4th and 3 at the goal line there?
Yeah, we need to go for it, I believe. What do we have to lose?
Did you kind of make that point clear to Coach? Did you guys talk about it?
Oh, I talk about it really all the time. He knows my mindset as a quarterback. I want to go for it every chance, especially now with the, just what our record displays. And we just got to continue to be the aggressive team.
What did you say to Xavier before he got carted off, and how much you hate seeing him go off that way?
Just God's got him. He has a plan for all of us. And losing him, he's a real, key piece, not just him being elevated, but just to the team, the energy he brings every day. And that's sad, to see that, when your homeboys to go out like that. But you see the guys who came over there and held them up. You see the guys, just on the knee, on the sideline, praying for him. So we're going to all continue to rally each other, but that's something that you never want to see.
What do you think led into the after the play stuff today? Some of the special teams scrubs and then arguing this thing on the sideline. What do you think led into that?
Players being themselves. That's what we want. I support it. If they do it on the field, with the, late penalties, but, we got to be able to offensively to back them up and overcome those penalties. So at the end of the day, I'm always support my teammates. If that's how they feel in the moment, I'm going to be with them.
Thanks. In terms of the self-inflicted wounds continuing that you've mentioned, do you think there's anything the team or you specifically could do that is not being done internally or behind the scenes, a different way to address guys, or I don't know, if you speak up or hold some kind of meeting and address the players in a certain way?
No, I think no meeting or, could address that situation. It has to only be addressed on the field, and it's something that, starts in practice. It's something that we got to emphasize in practice. But, it's just unacceptable to be in the NFL and continue to, have these bad plays, from just all of us as a whole. And that's why, our record is what it is. But on the bright side, there's really nothing, that can get worse. We just got to continue to be better each and every day and continue to pull each other along, try to get wins.
You're the most sacked quarterback in the league right now. How much is that starting to wear on you, maybe physically or mentally?
I live the life of a quarterback. I play the next play. I live the next day. I like to live my life one day at a time. So how I'm feeling, it really, doesn't bother me. Someone in the world has it a lot worse, than I have. So that's just how I put it in perspective. I'm very blessed. God's blessed me with the ability to do what I love for a living. Not a lot of people get the chance to say that. He's given me the ability to, play football. So, every time, whether I'm hurt, whether I'm sore, whether I'm healthy, I just try to, go play through him, play for my teammates as well.
Do you feel like all of the things that you're going through, do you feel like it's testing your strength, your faith, your love for football, your ability to keep going?
Oh, for sure. It's for sure testing it. But, to win, you got to lose. So, at the end of the day, just continue to get better, try not to make the same mistakes each and every day. But, eventually the storm going to end. And, all of us in the locker room will remember all this moment. We'll remember the guys who's on the team of this year. And, we'll be excited for the future.
I let it go that long for a reason, because I wanted you to hear that answer. Tehran asked him at the end of that, is it affecting your love for football? And he said, yeah. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. You guys, that's scary shit. He's supposed to be undaunted. And I'm not, listen, I want to make sure that I'm clear on this. That's not an indictment of Cam Ward. That's an indictment of the Titans. The Titans and how bad they have been and how poorly run they are and how many bad decisions that they've made that led them to this point where they very much earn the right to draft Cam Ward #1 overall. And again, they will earn the right to draft some poor bastard #1 overall or trade that pick and add a bunch of players to this unholy mess of a football franchise. But he has the right attitude and he's got the right makeup for it. But that this franchise is so toxic and so bad and filled with so much losing, constantly losing, that they're in a situation where they are costing the number 1 overall pick, at least in some part, his love for football. That's inexcusable. Well, on that, I'm not down on Cam for that. Who wouldn't? He's human at the end of the day. He's not completely impervious to all of this shit. He can't possibly be. Now he can be mentally tough enough to handle it and ride with it and pull himself out of it eventually. But oh my God, that's horrifying. We're probably going to do a whole show on that in and of itself tomorrow. But I wanted to make sure that you heard that exchange today, because that caught me by surprise. That's just not something that you hear. It's not quite as crazy as Will Levis rewire my brain type stuff, but it's scary. It should scare you. And I'm not saying that, because somebody, let me scroll back up because I saw somebody leave a comment. How does it get better then? I have no idea. I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. If you think that it is going to get better, you are just blindly hoping and wishing, because the evidence in front of you would suggest that they are not going to, that bad teams stay bad for a reason, because at the top, it's bad. Those people whose decisions impact everything, and not just the quarterback who impacts the play of the wide receiver, or the center who impacts the play of the running back, or the defensive lineman that impacts the play of the corner. No, the people at the top who have cratered this thing, and their decisions that impact everything, and their influence that impacts everything. I don't know. Are they going to get better at their jobs? I have no evidence of that. It's really blind faith in the idea that, yeah, at some point it will get better, but I don't know when, and I don't know how, and it just has to, right? I'm not gonna gaslight you into saying, oh yeah, for sure, don't worry, that next time it'll be different. That's like the toxic relationship that you got out of, and yet somehow you've talked yourself back into, oh no, this person has changed. They'll be different this time. They'll respect me more this time. They'll listen to me more this time. They'll be more considerate this time. No, they're still probably the same person at the end of the day. Man, that's probably the most concerning thing I've heard or seen or watched all year, is Cam Ward saying that this is in any way, shape, or form affecting his love for football. John Moon on Facebook Live says, no, the Ward experiment is done. No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I mean, it shouldn't be. That would be the worst possible thing that you could do. If you just spent the number 1 overall pick at a quarterback, you throw your hands up in the air at the end of the year and say, nah, I'm good. No, that's ill-fated from the jump, right? You need to be committed to supporting the number 1 overall pick in everything that you do the minute that you draft him. And did they do that correctly? No, they should have fired Brian Callahan before the season started, and clearly they didn't think much of him anyway, because they fired him 6 games in. I mean, so no, I don't trust the people at the top to get this right, because they are ultimately the people most responsible for turning it around. Bad teams stay bad for a reason. This is a bad team because the ownership has made bad decisions, and people empowered by ownership have made bad decisions, and on the cycle goes. Shit rolls downhill. It's the definition of your franchise at this point. Not ideal. All right. A little bit of positivity, shall we? Sunday Funday. Put a bow on this thing, because on the radio show, honest to God, I mean, we'll obviously talk about the game to some extent, but there's way more pressing things in college football that I think you guys would actually like to talk about, as opposed to just this humiliation ritual that it is to watch this football team. on a week-by-week basis. But what we can do is ask you what the best thing that you saw this weekend was. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Oh, we'll get to Mike McCoy also. I want to get to Mike McCoy before I move completely on. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. What's the best thing that you saw this weekend? Facebook. I already said that 3 different times. I'm sorry. I'm repeating myself. We will get to Mike McCoy here quickly, though, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by True Map Fitness in the Gulch. True Map Fitness is where you go to get your work at it. You ate too much this week. We all did. It's okay. But what's important is that you stick to your routine. That is what True Map Fitness is going to help you do. So if your pants are fitting a little tighter after the holidays, and you know that more holidays are right around the corner, and you know it's probably going to indulge to some extent, that's all right. That's natural. Don't deprive yourself. Enjoy, but make sure that you're doing the best for yourself by keeping yourself regularly active on a plan that True Map Fitness will help you personally create. No workout ever recycled or repeated at TrueMapFitness.com, where your first workout is free. All right, Mike McCoy, before we get to Sunday Funday, I will look at this situation and say, I don't know why you guys are still watching this. I'm grateful that you do, because obviously I'm a Titans reporter. We do the primetime show. It's exclusively Titans. We do the install podcast with Cosell. We sprinkle in a little Titans, but really at this point, we're just talking about other football teams, because what am I going to talk about with the Titans? They scored 3 points today. There's nothing to analyze. There's nothing for Greg to break down other than, yeah, they're really bad. Okay, let's talk about the Chiefs, I guess. And the radio show, we bob and weave between NFL and college, of course, but my primary gig is the Titans. But I don't understand at all why you guys are still watching this shit. I frankly don't understand how you could be a fan of this franchise. I think that they let you down at every turn, and it's not about the players to me, although the players are not sufficient at this point in time. It goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about the people at the top. I would not support these people with my hard-earned money if I was you. You're entitled to make your own choices. And obviously, you all have a loyalty to your favorite teams. And just the same way that I do to the one team that I care about as a fan, Indiana basketball. It's the only team, not even Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame football, fine. But Indiana basketball, I would get backed over by a car to see my team win a national championship in college basketball. I'm sure many of you would suffer similar fates to see the Titans win a Super Bowl. But I don't get it. I don't get it. At least college, there are more things that fans can control. This nonsense, where they're almost emboldened by the idea that they're getting their new stadium. So come hell or high water, they're going to do it the way that they want to do it. And that's not good, because they're not very good at this, it would seem. I'm fascinated by it. And then I watch things like Mike McCoy today take a delay of game penalty when he has 3 timeouts at the end of the half with 35 seconds into the first half with 35 seconds today. And again, I'm confused as to why anybody is suffering through these games the way that they are.
Personal fouls, then points. What do you think about the discipline part of the penalties, particularly after the whistles?
Yeah, we can't have those penalties. It's unacceptable. We can't be doing it. It's hard enough to win and to stop teams defensively and move the ball offensively. We've had the past couple of weeks, I would say, way too many penalties.
Did you get an explanation from Julius about what kind of started that fight there?
No, I did not. No, I did not. I'll look it on tape and see what I do not know that.
In your experience, do you choose to discipline players after something like that happens, or you kind of just let things take?
No, we'll look at it and see what happened. We'll go from there.
Mike, what happened at the end of the first half when you guys take the delay game, but you got all 3 timeouts on the board?
Well, that's unacceptable. I thought he was going to snap the ball. Thought he was going to snap it, and I've got to have more awareness myself too. So I got to call timeout if I see that. And there's been a couple of times, even last week, that exact same thing came up, and he snapped it right at the last second. So that's what I thought he was going to do. But that's on me. I can't let that happen. So I got to do a better job there and just call timeout. Even if it's at 1 second, 2 seconds, I don't think he's going to get it off. I got to do a better job there.
I don't think Mike McCoy's a bad guy, but damn, that's such a tough look. Such a tough look today. He's in a difficult situation. I don't think he ever planned on being a head coach again. I mean, I'm sure, he would say, if you asked him, sure, I'd like to be a head coach again. You don't stay in this profession if you don't want to do the job at the highest level. Jesus. It's just brutal. And then the first thing I think of is the people that I'm seeing, or the lack of people, the lack of Titans fans that I'm seeing in the stands. I'm like, why are you enduring this way? But I'm grateful because it keeps us in business. But I can still question it. God. All right. Now a little positivity. Let's all make fun of Lane Kiffin. Sunday Funday. What's the best thing that you saw on the internet this week? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you would like to participate, we would love to have your participation. What's the best thing that you saw this weekend? I will get to mine, which I've already tipped my hand. It's Lane Kiffin. Right after I remind you that you need to dress better. You can dress better. Or if you have, if your significant other in your life could stand to dress better, Simon Says Nashville is where you go. Holiday shopping, it's a great time to do it. 40% off on a lot of their inventory right now, and so many cool looks that you will not see in any other store, any other online shopping place. And hopefully you all participated in Small Business Saturday yesterday. I went to a couple of my favorite shops. Simon Says Nashville, always a great option. Of course, simonsaysnashville.com for more details in all of the different ways that you could stand to dress your best and thus feel your best at simonsaysnashville.com. What is the best thing that you saw this weekend, Sunday Funday? Mine was the entire Lane Kiffin saga. Mine is poor Marty Smith. I don't think he bathed or ate or anything for the past 3 days while he was gutting it out in the Ole Miss facility, waiting for Lane Kiffin to make a damn decision. But he was on call. He got the interview. He did his job, and Lane Kiffin I was sold a bill of goods on how different Lane Kiffin is as a person. And then I saw the way that all that shit played out today. And I'm like, it's okay, Lane. I love you for you.
I understand you didn't attend the meeting today. Why not?
Again, I totally respect Keith's decision.
So that was his decision?
Yeah. He asked me not to come to the meeting and said I couldn't come, but which I totally understand. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. We're trying to find a way, to make this work and coach the team and give the team the best chance to win. But I also, he's got a job to do, and like he said, he has to live here. So, like he said, maybe all the national people understand why he should let me coach, but he has to live here, and it's a little different when you're the AD. So totally respect that. And Keith has been amazing to us over the 6 years.
Why was it?
Lane Kiffin thinking that he should get to coach that team through the playoffs while taking LSU's money to go be their coach is hilarious. It's objectively hilarious. I don't want Lane Kiffin to be any different. I love Lane Kiffin as a personality. I think he's phenomenal. I'm sure if he was associated with anything that I cared about, like on a fan level, I would probably hate him. But God, he's entertaining. He really is. And this whole month-long damn near saga of will he or won't he, or will he or won't he, or will they let him coach or won't they let him coach, and Kirk Herbstreit's begging the Ole Miss administration to let him coach. Like, they don't get him out of there. What do you mean let him coach? Herbstreit's, of course, entitled to his opinion. Kirk Herbstreit knows far more about that business than I could ever possibly learn in the rest of my days on planet Earth. But I know that Lane Kiffin should not get to have his cake and eat it too and get to coach Ole Miss through the playoffs when he's just going to leave them at the end no matter what happens and take the LSU job and go on to, do whatever he's going to do at LSU, whether he has success or not. My God, it's so embarrassing. So embarrassing. The people that were stumping for Lane to be able to do that. Sure, the players want him there, and I don't want anything that harms the players additionally. But if I'm a player, I'm telling them to kick rocks too, man. What do you mean you're leaving? What do you mean you're doing this now? We just had the best season in Ole Miss history. I would say what I would actually say in a situation like that, but I don't want to lose us our monetization on YouTube tonight by saying a nasty word. So I won't. It's just absolute. Anthony says, why shouldn't he? Let's have it with transfer portal. All these teams are one-year teams. Let him finish the year. No. He doesn't get to. He doesn't get to have everything. He has to make a decision. He has to stand on his principles, whatever principles he might have. He may not have principles. I could give a shit about Lane Kiffin's principles If I was an Ole Miss fan, I just wanted to win games. I'm an LSU fan. I just wanted to win games. Now, obviously, I don't want anything done that is so untoward, right? We don't want an Art Briles situation or anything like that. I'm not advocating for that kind of behavior where it lacks moral constitution, but you get my point. Like, if he's a bad person or a less than reputable person, as long as he's not doing anything illegal, I don't care how Lane Kiffin feels about this. If Lane Kiffin wants to coach that team, it's just so Lane Kiffin can be right. That's for Lane Kiffin's ego. That's not doing it for the kids. Please. That is just absolutely a ridiculous position to hold. And I'm glad that Ole Miss isn't letting him do it. And I'm glad that he took the LSU job. I love that Lane's still in the SEC, and it's going to be a great time had by all. I think things should be harsher on the coaches than they are on the players. Players have been held down and working, building a multi-billion-dollar entertainment industry literally as unpaid labor for the vast majority of college sports existence. Good. Let the overcorrection be in the direction of the players. Let the players do whatever they want, as far as I'm concerned. I could give a rat's ass about what the players do and how people view it, and if it upsets the fan base, and if it's not loyal to the school or all this other bullshit. I want the players to be paid, and I want them to have the best chance at success. I could give a shit what the coaches, if the coaches don't get to be treated the same way as the players. Imagine being somebody who works for, I assume, a boss or a company or management or whatever the case may be, as an employee, and saying, no, I side with management over labor. Get them out of here. That's going to do it for us tonight. I appreciate you guys hanging out. We're going to have a lot more fun with all of this on the radio show tomorrow. Listen, if the Titans suck, whatever. The Titans have sucked for quite some time. We still have fun with it on the radio show. We'll do the same thing tomorrow with Ben Jones, with Brett Kern, with Robert, with Lucas, the whole crew. We'll all be involved, so we hope you come hang out with us from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. Obviously, we've been off for quite some time, and the radio show, I think, has a normal week, so we'll be back in full force, and we'll enjoy that time together. See you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
There's a very low percentage of this